Hello and welcome back to Up The Duff for episode 6, Keeping It Cheal. Today we have former Cheltenham Town Ladies Development Manager Cam Cheal as our special guest, hence the name. And we're going to take a look at our time working together in Cheltenham Town's women's setup.
We'll spend a lot of time talking about goalkeeping today, using Cam's time as a keeper for Cheltenham Saracens and Bishopsgate Development, and Ben's time as a coach to go through some of our favourites to have played for Town.
We'll also go through the January transfer window that saw 3 players join the Robins on loan.
But first and foremost, our game away at Harrogate earlier this week.
It's not one we're really going to remember now, is it? I'm going to put this down to the pitch. It was a terrible pitch, which I think really messed up how we wanted to play. It's like the commentator was saying, Cheltenham were just lumping it along. I think we kind of had to with that pitch.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a very stifling pitch. You saw any time someone tries to play it along the floor, the ball would be, bouncing and bobbling constantly. It's not a surprise that a lot of what was actually happening was in the air, including Boyle's goal, of course, which is another header at the back post.
Yeah, and I think we know full well what a pitch can do for your survival hopes. Maybe Harrogate are playing into that. And it did seem like a lot of long ball and hitting it long, but yeah, we kind of had to. Harrogate tried some nicer passing stuff, and you think they'd be used to the pitch. It didn't really come off. The main takeaway is the buses. Now, there was a double-decker bus going past Harrogate's game, and I do believe it's the number 7 to Leeds, and I'm really glad the commentator brought that up instead of talking about the match that we were actually watching.
Yeah, it's very useful, isn't it? If you do ever find yourself up in Harrogate and you want to get to Leeds, you know exactly where you need to go to try and catch a bus from.
It'll take about 3 hours, but don't expect a double-decker. Now, the interesting change, obviously, Chris Clements came off in the first half, and with Circum on the bench, we brought on Sean Long, also coming back from injury. I think Sean Long was actually pretty good in midfield.
Yeah, he was great. Michael Duff said in his interview with Gloucestershire Live that it was kind of brought him on for that attritional game. He knew that he could put in a tough job, just kind of hook the ball out where he needed to, and of course he got the assist as well, which was
very good
helpful.
Assist. I thought it was a very cheeky lob into the back post. Cam, you got any comments on the game last night?
Yeah, I didn't actually watch it, but I caught the highlights after the game, and I've been pretty impressed with Cheltenham as a whole this season from when I've seen the highlights and stuff. I just think that the system that they play gives them the license to roam players around the field a little bit more, and they have that freedom to do really whatever they want. The wing backs, should I say, very good on the ball, and obviously can deliver a good ball into the box, and it just allows the attackers to get in there and score goals, which is obviously what we like to see at Cheltenham. But yeah, obviously, Ben, you've touched on it a lot. Last night wasn't great in terms of weather or conditions of the pitch, so I think that it played more into their hand. But hey, Cheltenham were always good at hitting the ball long back in the days when I used to go and watch. So nothing's really changed there, I don't think.
Yeah, I think back in the days can be as recently as 2 years ago. But it's nice that we've moved on. And I wanted to point out that we managed to see a game out, and it seems like a while that we've done that. And it was very, very good game management, I think. Now, the commentator was getting very annoyed. Tozer would go for the long throw every time and waste 10 seconds with each throw-in. I think we've actually gone there. We've seen out a game which could easily have ended up as a draw if they just got that one lucky chance.
Yeah, so many times this season we've seen Cheltenham conceding a last-minute goal. Obviously, the worst of the bunch was the Cambridge one, which was about a minute after the game was meant to end. But if we actually saw out a game, it's a miracle. Got 3 points instead of just the one. And I think it'll be very helpful as well for the end of the season. Teams really struggling to put a run together at the moment, and it's so tight from the top to the middle of the pack. So
yeah, it's a very, very tight league now. Obviously, Tranmere lost last night, as did Cambridge, which did us a massive favour. It means we are now up to 3rd. Cam, I don't think you know this, but I did tell Harry that if we do get promoted, I will go to a game at the end of the season dressed as the Cookie Monster. Now, it may not be the end of this season. It could be the start of the next.
Hey, Ben, I've seen you do a lot of strange things in your time, so that would be one of them.
I have a reputation, and I'm okay with that. Now, last part of last night's game was the return of Circum. How massive do you think that could be for the rest of our season?
I think Circum's obviously top quality player. It goes without saying. I don't think that the difference will be as big as that of Hussey coming back. I think we've got quite a nice amount of cover in the centre midfield, but
including Sean Long now.
Yeah. Is to say that he, he'll obviously have an impact. He's a League One standard player, but I think that we could do fine.
Could do fine.
Otherwise.
Yeah. I'm just hoping Circum starts to really show his League One quality going into the business end of the season. Maybe he'll prove to be the difference, or we've pretty much got a full strength side now. We've got Hussey, Blair, Long all back. Could be massive for us. Let's just hope. Now, moving on. Cam and myself worked together in the past at the Cheltenham Ladies setup, where we worked with the development side together and a little bit the season before that. So what we're going to do is just take a trip down memory lane. We're going to go through our experiences with the team, kind of share our insight into the women's setup. So it is time for our interview with Cam. Cam, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Cool. So first things first, why don't you touch on your role with the women's setup and tell us about what you did?
Yeah, so I joined the women's setup back in the 17-18 season. My uncle Alex took the role as head coach in the first team, and he asked me to be his assistant for that remainder of that season. Yeah, it was really, really enjoyable at that time. And then we did a full season after in the first team, and then the opportunity came up for me to manage and coach within the development team, and obviously that was a good opportunity, I thought, for myself to take forward. And I thought that the ethos of the club really fitted with what I wanted from the team as well. So I thought it was a great opportunity for me to progress and hopefully push the team forward a little bit more.
Yeah, so you mentioned your uncle Alex coming in, and I think it's fair to say that you were a part of a really big shift in the club in their direction. Obviously, before that, they were a little bit more towards the bottom of the league, but now they are challenging for promotion against the likes of Southampton and the other Southampton.
Yeah, I think Alex had some good connections from his time at the uni, so that paid in good stead for us as well. He was able to attract a few more regular players that he knew, and it just brought a different mentality, I think, to the girls, and they were able to play with a bit more freedom as well, kind of like we were speaking about earlier. And yeah, you could tell a massive difference from that 3 months that we were in for that 17-18 season onto next season, and then even onto the third season that we then took over, Ben, in the development team.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that this club has kind of taken the mantle of the pride of the county in terms of women's football. We'll get onto that a bit more in a bit. But I don't think there's anyone really around here anymore that can challenge Cheltenham. In terms of challenging, first team do have a lot to go up against. Southampton have a whopping budget of £5 million to get up the leagues to the Super League, which is bigger than a lot of clubs in League Two, in all honesty. How would you rate the club's chances going up against them for promotion?
Well, it's always difficult, isn't it? You know, I'm gonna link it back to the men's side really here. When Cheltenham played Man City in the FA Cup, obviously, really on paper, it's Man City's game all day, isn't it? Really, they should win it, and you know, we as a team we made it really difficult for them and actually put on a good show. And I think that's what the ladies would have to do. You know, they have to believe in what they do. And I think whilst we were there, they did that. They bought into what we wanted to do and how we wanted to play. That was really good. And, you know, obviously you have to bring in the right players as well that fit the system, fit the way you want to play. And I think that we got the balance right between the two teams. And that allowed us to just develop players a lot more. And obviously there, like I said, we were able to play some good football. And you know, moving forward, obviously, it's only going to help the club out in total, I think. So
I think the club have been quite unlucky with this coronavirus thing. Obviously, last season, Southampton just blitzed the league, and then it got declared null and void. So they have to go up against them again this season, and potentially even the season after, because of how this is going, and there's no real end to it. And it might be declared null and void again. I think they've got a challenge, but I think they can do it eventually.
Yeah. Well, I said to you, Ben, didn't I, sort of when we started, that for me, it wasn't really about us winning tournaments, winning competitions and cups and stuff. Obviously, that will come. We had such a young squad. So for us, it was just about developing those players and giving them that exposure to women's football and at a senior level as well. A lot of them would have played sort of under 18s or for youth teams. So obviously there's a massive difference coming up against 30-year-olds, 32-year-old women playing centre of the midfield, you know. So for a lot of our girls, when we joined, and obviously when more so in the development team, a lot of them were sort of going into their first years of college and first years of uni. So we knew that we would have to, again, like I said, get the balance right. And I think we did. We had a good core group that was sort of there from the previous 1 or 2 seasons that really made everyone feel welcome and accepted everyone in, really. And the younger girls were able to then open up a little bit more, and we got a bit more of their character to come out on the pitch as well as off of it.
Yeah, and I feel like we did a pretty good job of that. Obviously, some of the girls I was with, and they were under 18s, and then I've seen them go through their through our dev side and then play for the first team in the National League. I think the likes of Holly Fenton, Ellie Mae Simpson, they all went on and made those appearances, which was really good for them. We also had other players. We had Sophie Griffiths, I believe, making appearances this season. Molly Ripley, the goalkeeper, getting involved. And I think it's great to see. I think it kind of shows we did an all right job, Cam.
Yeah, well, that's what they need, I think. It's all well and good being a great player at youth level, but obviously you need to have that exposure, I think. And again, going back to sort of the men's football as well, you know, I did a whole dissertation on the EPPP in uni, and, you know, that's all around youth development and why men don't get an opportunity. So that's you know, that tops it off really, doesn't it? And I think that if these women get the opportunities just like the men do as well, that they can deliver and they can do it. I think that my whole philosophy was around that and was all around developing players rather than winning. And obviously if you develop them enough and do a good enough job, the results would come, and we saw that obviously.
And I think obviously our whole ethos was develop the younger players. It did work very well for us. And I think at the time of the null and void, we were in a title challenge with the league's top scorer. I think we scored 50 goals, but 10 past Western, which was massive. I feel like, how frustrating would you say it was to see our challenge just stopped and all these young players' seasons just cut? Because it would have been a massive, massive thing for them at 18 to win a 6th tier title.
Yeah, I think it would have been, you know, I mean, like I said, we did stick 10 goals past a pretty poor side. And, well, I think we beat 13 as well, didn't we, at home? So, yeah, I think the girls would have relished that opportunity to have lifted a title. But, you know, as I said, it wasn't about that for us. If we had won it, if we'd finished bottom, I wouldn't have really cared that much. It was all about how we played, the way we wanted to play, and how the girls then responded to that, and if they did. And obviously, you know, if we got the response a lot of the time because of the quality of the players we knew that we would get the results. For us, it was just a case of whether we were ready for that level in terms of the physicality. And I think, you know, I held my hands up, I guess, at the start of the season. This team will be the best footballing side in the league, and I still stand by that now. I think we were, but the reason we didn't win every game was because we were a bit naive at times, because we were against teams that had been in that league for so long, had squads of players that had been together for so long, you know. And who knows if we had stayed there this season and the whole squad would have stayed, who knows what would have happened. We don't know, but things had to change, and the club's moving forward, and, you know, hopefully they're moving in a good direction.
Yeah, you say we had a very young squad, but I have to say we were probably the youngest coaching squad you're really going to come across in women's football. It's like you're in your early 20s, I was 18. We had Andy, who was a little bit older than us. When you think about it, 2 people just pretty much 20 doing that. And I think despite our young years, we kind of really just pushed them. We used the experience we had. So I just want to touch on what you think some of the highlights were for our time with the dev side. I think obviously the Western 10-0 went through 4 goalkeepers, I think it was, in that one match. Obviously being Forest Green was a massive one. What do you think?
For me, we had one standout game for me that was like the tip of the iceberg really for me, and that was Sodbury away. It was only a 2-0 win. We didn't have Molly for that game. We had Alita, our goalkeeper coach, playing in goal, who did a great job. We had a very young side as well. I think we had an injury to our captain within sort of 20 minutes or so she had to come off. But just the fact that, you know, our captain was quite, like I said, one of the older heads in the team, so and she was the voice really of the team. She came off, and that had gone on the pitch, but the girls rose to the challenge. It wasn't an easy game. It wasn't an easy pitch, and the girls rose to it, managed to win 2-0, as I said. And just some of the football we played was ridiculous. It was so good, and we probably could have won by more, but, you know, we got the first goal, got the second goal, and then just sort of sat back and just played football where we could. And it was so nice to see just the progress that we had made from pre-season, even the first few games of the season. And then for me, I think that massive 13-0 Western win, I mean, that was probably the largest victory I've ever seen in my coaching career. I don't know about you, Ben.
I think that was my biggest is 18 at the moment, back in the under 18s leagues. But still, that Chipping Salisbury game, that was just experience beyond our years. I reckon everyone was fantastic. I can't quite remember if that was the one where I stacked it and almost knocked myself out. That was an interesting time.
That was the one, yeah.
How are you looking at me like I'm an idiot there? Because I am. Obviously, what people want to hear about is we beat Forest Green. That's the main thing. We went over to the new lawn. We played on the pitch next to the main ground. We went behind. I think it was 2 goals in the last 5 minutes from 2 16-year-olds to win it. That was absolutely fantastic.
It was, yeah. Gotta love that. Yeah, any victory against Forest Green is a moral one, isn't it? So I think that the performance on that day was a bit patchy, but obviously it was a pre-season game. But we were a goal down quite early on, and we rung the changes sort of because, again, like I said, it was pre-season. And then, yeah, as you said, we scored a pretty good goal, the first one, and then we just went on to better things after that, and we were able to score a second goal. I think it was Caitlin and Amy, wasn't it, that got the 2 goals, and they weren't happy.
Well, I was very happy. That's what matters. Now, moving on, what does it mean to you to be a Cheltenham fan and to be involved in the club you support?
Yeah, it's massive. As I said, I think the whole philosophy of the club in general is that they want to be able to develop players, and they want to be able to push that younger setter and the younger driver players through. It's a bit more difficult, I think, in men's football because of the high expectations, and obviously women's football's coming through a lot more now, and there's obviously a lot more media coverage and all of that coming through. But yeah, I just think the opportunity on a whole is massive. More so that it's my hometown, it's where I'm from, and I obviously support the club as well. So yeah, after being given that opportunity, obviously it was one that I relished a lot, and I've taken a lot from it, and I'll always look at it as one of those opportunities that's kind of made my coaching career, because I've developed so much myself in from that, I think, and my confidence has grown, and I think if I went into another job, whether it be going back to Cheltenham or something else, I don't know, I will always look back at that and take the positives from it.
Completely agree. And what was a massive highlight of my coaching career, but what was it like to be involved at the game at Wadham Road?
Yeah, huge. Obviously, I've played there before, actually, as a youngster, but I don't know if you remember that Robin 7 tournament back in the Cheltenham League. Yeah. There was I think we were playing Oldham back in League One, and we got free tickets to watch the game afterwards, and we played FC Lakeside, a little cheeky 0-0 game, and I think I saved the winning penalty. And obviously, the team were very happy by that.
I think I was meant to play. I was meant to play at Wadham Road about a month before we did, and I ended up snapping my ligament in my knee, which was very annoying because it happened on the pitch next to Wadham Road. So I actually had to hobble off while looking at it and thinking, well, I'm never going to play there, am I? So we're just going to.
A man of many injuries, aren't you?
Honestly, just so many. Just going to finish off this interview with what could you say to our listeners to perhaps get them down to the Saracens ground when we're allowed to watch a few of the ladies' games? Yeah,
I think you just need to look at it as football as a whole. Like, if you're a football fan, it shouldn't matter if it's women's football or men's football. It's football at the end of the day. And for me, if I was offered to go now, more so now than before, I would go straight away. Some of the football on show is as I said, really, really good. The girls are just the delight to work for, they're delight to watch, and obviously the stuff that they're doing now, I've managed to see them a couple of times this season as well, and still they're trying to work on the things that they did last season. They're trying to move forward under obviously new management and stuff, and obviously even within the first team as well, they're still trying to develop that philosophy of playing football and developing those players through. And I just think, yeah, if you really want to go and watch football, you should just go and do it, because as I said, football as a whole is great to watch, and whether it's women's or men's, you should just go and do it because it's so good.
Yeah, I agree. It is very nice. They're very entertaining to watch, very entertaining to work with. Less entertaining when you're the referee. I was there in pre-season to ref a match. I was a lino. I do remember Sammy always would have a word with the referee, and when it's you, it's a bit less funny to watch. But we'll leave it at that. Just going to move on, and we're going to have a look at the transfer window.
Yes, now the transfer window is slammed shut 10 days ago, with 3 attackers coming in to bolster our obvious weakness. Sam Smith, Indiana Vasilev and Callum Wright will join the club. But guys, what do you think of the club's dealings?
Cam, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, when I've not really heard much of any of them actually. When I saw the article that we had signed Sam Smith, I thought we had signed the singer. So yeah, obviously that just shows how silly I am. But yeah, I've heard of Vasilev. I know that he spent some time at obviously Villa, and he was at Burton, wasn't he, last season, I think? Yeah. And he's a good little player. But the other 2 I've not really heard of. So yeah, if you guys know anything about them, then.
Well, I mean, I don't really know anything about Sam Smith or Wright. I do know Now, a bit about Indiana Basilev, obviously having a Villa background, and it was Reg, or Luke Varney, did put in a good word to Mike Duff and to Cheltenham to recommend that he comes to us, and Villa recalled him from Burton to send him to Cheltenham. I think that's clearly a very good sign. Varney being one of our best ever goal scorers, that's clearly a very good person to say, yeah, go get this player.
I completely agree with that. Trust Luke Varney's word. And in a sense, it's a shame there's no big names for Cheltenham like him at Leicester and Reading as well to kind of solidify our opinions of the other two players. Haven't seen Callum Wright in action yet, but all the Leicester fans were saying that he was pretty good.
It's better to have him there than Alfie May behind the strikers as well.
Oh, definitely. Alfie May is wasted at Cam. He's much better, on the shoulder of the last man.
Very true. Sam Smith, I honestly don't know. I've not heard of him before. I mean, it's definitely somewhere we needed to strengthen. We definitely need to bring in a goal scorer. And perhaps they've just been the ones to kick Andy Williams and Alfie May into gear a bit. Maybe we are going to see Will Boyle up front a little bit. But as long as we get promoted, I feel like if they're there and they get us promoted, they'll be loved by me forever.
Who cares? Win the league, doesn't matter.
That's like we all loved John Flatt when he won the league.
Do you not get worried that there's quite a lot of loan players? That I know Cheltenham have to rely on loan players a lot, but do you not feel that sometimes we could go up, we could get promoted as champions as well? That we've got sort of 5 or 6 loan players. Obviously we might have to secure those next season, but that might not be possible.
Yeah, I think that's a lot like what Swindon did. Swindon got promoted with loan players, and now they're going to get relegated without them. They're also at risk of going broke. But I'm okay seeing loan players in, especially at the moment, because no one can afford to just have permanent players coming in all the time.
Yeah, it's the lack of consistency is frustrating. I think that it's less about season loans and it's more about the short-term deals. Or obviously we're going to be talking about Jack Butland in a bit, but when he came in from Birmingham on loan, it was only for the first 6 months or so, and we got a little extension, but then Birmingham recalled him just before the playoff final, and Scott Brown, who's a very good keeper in his own right, but hadn't played very much all season, had to step in instead. And you do wonder how different it could be if you just have that consistency the whole time instead of constantly having a player coming in and out.
I do think back to, I think it was the last season long loan we had was John Flatt, and he played 4 times all season. Cam, shaking your head there. What did you think of John Flatt?
Yeah, he wasn't one of my favourites. We're going to touch on the keepers in a bit, but we've seen quite a lot, luckily, at Cheltenham who have been more better than they have been bad. I rated Trevor Clarkson as a goalkeeper, but I think you can't ever put him in as one of your favourites because he was in Cheltenham's relegated team to the conference. I don't know if you can do that, but he did make a lot of saves that season, so it could have been a lot worse than what it was.
He almost scored to keep us up as well. I remember Shrewsbury's keeper having to tip his goal kick over the bar. Good, because Cam,
I'd say so.
It is time for Connor to mastermind. You're going under the lights, under pressure to answer our Cheltenham Town related questions. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, I think.
Okay. Name, age, occupation. Go.
Cameron Cheal, 24, and I'm an SEN learning support worker.
Nice.
2 minutes on the clock, isn't it?
2 minutes on the clock. Yeah, we always overrun. Hopefully I don't run out of questions. I really hope I don't. I might just have to mix it in with other information I've gathered for this episode. Are you both ready?
Go.
Best of luck. Go.
What colour are the names and numbers on the back of the away shirt?
Black.
White. An advert on the Speedy Skip stand boasts the best what in town?
Skips.
It is Screw. Who did Scott Brown leave for in 2014?
Aberdeen.
Correct. Who wears the number 11?
What now?
Yeah.
Benazas.
It's Matty Blair. Who were Cheltenham Town relegated with the 2014-15 season?
Dagenham.
It was Tranmere. Who scored our first goal of the season?
Alfie May.
It's Liam Sercombe. Which Arsenal regular played Cheltenham Town in the EFL Trophy for their academy?
Played for us.
Played for Arsenal against us. Youngster, now he's a regular.
Oh, Saka.
Correct. What colour was our shirt in our 3-0 win over Swindon?
Purple.
It's yellow. Who did we sign Indiana Vasilev from?
Villa.
Correct. What is the name of our mascot?
Wadney.
Correct. Which low knee is way too good at goodbyes?
Post Malone.
Oh. Who are Cheltenham's next opponents?
Warsaw.
Correct. Who did we sign from Atletico di Calcutta?
Darryl Duffy.
It's Connor Thomas. I'm going to give you a bit of extra time because I messed up. Who missed a one-on-one in the 39th minute of the game against Harrogate?
Andy Williams.
Right, stop the clock now.
Okay, I'm just going to count. How do you think you did, Cam?
I think I got 5.
You did get 5. That puts you in second place, 2 behind Jake from outside CTFC, and ahead of me and Harry, who made the questions insanely difficult for each other. Me and Harry will take it on at some point again to get an actual score. For the time being, congratulations, Cam. You are in second place.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on. Next, we're going to tap into Cam and my knowledge, and we're going to have a look into the best goalkeepers ever to have played for Cheltenham Town. Now, with us being a bit younger than some, ours will be based on what we've seen and players we've watched. But feel free, those listening, to send us who you think our best ever goalkeepers have been in our question of the day, which we will go into soon. Now, Cam, do you think, starting us off, what do you think makes a good goalkeeper?
Yeah, well, I think if you had asked me this question maybe about 5-6 years ago, the answer would be different because the game has developed. But yeah, obviously, I don't judge a goalkeeper based on if they can save the ball because that's their job at the end of the day. So I think, yeah, they've got to have that ability to play out from the back. I think they've got to be composed on the ball, I guess, as well as being able to sort of dominate the box and the area that is theirs. You know, if they've got all of those, they should do well in the game.
Fair enough. Now, Harry, would you like to start us off? We're all going to talk about two goalkeepers. We can do one at a time. Who have you gone for?
The 2 keepers I've picked are Dylan Phillips and Scott Flinders. Now, I'll start off with Dylan first, chronological order. So, yeah, obviously came in for the National League season, joined summer 2015, played 37 games out of the 46 you'd play in a season.
Yeah.
And he got 16 clean sheets in that time, which is fantastic. Only conceded 24 goals for us as well. Now, obviously, he only played 37 games because it was tragically cut short by that rather severe injury he sustained against Eastleigh away on a Tuesday night. Opened the door for John Flatt to come in.
Obviously, with the standard of the National League, we didn't really realise how poor John Flatt could be. No offence if you're listening, mate, but Football League didn't go too well. And yeah, I'm just going to touch a bit on Dylan Phillips as well. He was an outstanding goalkeeper. He just seemed way beyond his years. We've said that a few times this episode, but the way he controlled the area, the way he his shot stopping was unmatched in the National League, and he was just a huge part of us going on to win that title.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's all reflected by obviously what's happened in the last few years. He's played a lot of games in League One and in the Championship as well. Unfortunately, he had that rather high profile incident in the League One playoff final against Sunderland, but luckily Charlton still won.
I'd like to blame the defender there, though.
I'd blame the defender as well.
Yeah.
We love Dylan. We can't have him being wrong.
Exactly. I mean, what's the defender doing? Playing such a powerful back pass, almost straight into the goal. It was bizarre.
I'm sure Cam will agree. If you're going to pass it back to the keeper, you don't put it on target.
Hey, do you remember Connor Roberts back in the 13-14 season against Dagenham? Last day of the season. Cedo John Barty plays, I mean, it wasn't the best of back passes, but it's waist height. Come on. And he's decided to go down with a diving header. And the ball's gone straight past him and into the net. Put the game level, but I think we ended up losing 3-2, I think, in the end, maybe. But yeah, what is he doing? It's fair to say he didn't play another game in a championship. So
that is probably for the best. We move on. Cam, who was the first goalkeeper you're going to share with us today?
I'm going to go with Scott Brown, probably a club legend to many Cheltenham Town supporters. He certainly is to me, not because he gave me a pair of goalie gloves, but because he is a very good goalkeeper. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he spent a lot of his career as an understudy, didn't he, to Shane Higgs, and even when Butland came in as well. But when he got his chance, boy, didn't he take it. He, for me, always did the basics well. Always was that voice of the defenders. You know, he's played over 270 games for Cheltenham, I think it is. But he's roughly over 2 spells because he came back on loan, didn't he? And so for me, I think he deserved his chance to go elsewhere and play. I mean, albeit it was only for Aberdeen, who, for me, obviously, if you're sort of comparing it to English teams, you know, I would stick them sort of in the Championship, sort of that level. So for him, yeah, still an opportunity, I guess, and he's gone and played in the Scottish division, but it's not really a competitive league. But yeah, he's done really well, as I said, and for me, yeah, a club icon, as I said, and I'm sure you guys would probably agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We did talk about Scott Brown's second spell at us with the Joe Roden experience, where we talked about loanees. Me and Harry do love Scott Brown. He is an absolute legend. He is one of the best goalkeepers, I have to say. Maybe we'll try and rank them in a bit, but that's going to be very, very difficult. But yeah, what do you think of Scott Brown, Harry?
Fantastic goalkeeper. I don't think you could have summed it up any better. When a player makes 270 appearances for you, it's hard to feel anything other than kind of admiration.
Okay, so yeah, you make 270 odd appearances. I'm going to top that with Steve Book. Played 307 games for Cheltenham Town. He was here between 1997 and 2004. I think you're going to struggle to find a more decorated Cheltenham player than Steve Book. I'm just going to go through some of his achievements. Honestly, he joined from Forest Green. We don't like Forest Green, but I got to say, out of all the players to have made that switch, Steve Book has to be by far the best business ever, because he won the FA Trophy in 97-98, finished a conference runner-up, then won the conference the season after and got in the Team of the Year, won the third division playoff in 2001 and 2002, and then as a coach, he reached a playoff final when we had our nice Ruby kit. He's won the National League, he came second in the Devon Cup with Tiverton. That's not quite on the same level, but it's still very, very good. Now, I have a very interesting stat on Steve Book. He is the worst ever card on FIFA Ultimate Team. He made an appearance on the bench in 2011 in the Cup against MK Dons, and you get on the bench, you get in FIFA. FIFA 12 gave him a rating of 40.
There are worse players, surely.
Not an Ultimate Team, I'm afraid. Now, he was massive. He played all the way from the conference to League One. He left, I think he went to Bristol Rovers, spent some time at Swindon, did his UEFA B goalkeeper coaching, and he came back to us in around 2010, and he is, to this day, our goalkeeper coach, and I've got to say, he is an absolute club legend as well, especially with the penalty shootout win to get to the 01-02 final. It's hard to put it into words other than Steve Book is a Cheltenham Town legend.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if you could compare him to the more modern day goalkeeper, but of his time, he was a very good goalkeeper. And you know, as we said, he did everything he needed to do, and obviously he's just a club legend. So.
Yeah, I feel like players back then, the players we have are always going to be more technically able and more physically gifted than the players we had back then. But yeah, you have to look at it in the early 2000s. He was just an insane goalkeeper. 307 games is absolutely brilliant. So moving on, Harry, would you like to touch on your second goalkeeper?
Yeah, another player who's made quite a considerable amount of appearances. Not nearly as much as Scott Brown or Steve Book, but Scott Flinders has made 132. Since joining in August 2017, he's also got 32 clean sheets, but has conceded 177 goals in probably can't be described as one of the best periods.
In all fairness, he joined the club under Johnson in what was a very troubled time, and then he became one of the best goalkeepers stat-wise in England on account of how few he conceded in the 1920 season.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole process of him joining is, you know, it's a messy story. You know, our number one at the time was going to be John Flatt of all people. He came in with his reputation, better Flinders, been released by Macclesfield in the National League at the end of 16-17 as well. But yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic ever since he joined. He's scored this team points by himself on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's 34 now, and he's had, I think, what could be described as quite a good career. He's made over 550 appearances overall. He scored a goal for Hartlepool.
An assist for us as well.
Yeah.
That was an amazing game. That Luton game was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think we've talked about Luton game on here before, but it's always worth coming
Yeah.
back to because it's kind of what teams do to us now. You've got a really, awful attritional team, and a good team comes along trying to play, fast flowing football, and we just shut them up completely. Yeah, we all thought it was over in the 85th minute when Luton scored, but I think, to be fair, you can probably
blame it on the Luton keeper.
Yeah, 'cause he chucked it out of that corner.
That was I still don't understand. Cam, have you got any comment on that awful goalkeeping?
No comment.
He literally chucked away 3 points by being an idiot. I think that's fair to say.
I don't know how he did it. It's like the ball just couldn't stay in his hand. It was like playing hot potato with it and just threw it into the stand behind the goal.
Maybe he was trying to time waste by taking a little bit of extra time to catch it and then just flinging it behind him. It was funny to watch, and even better when Flinders won the header and Boyle hit it home. So we're just going to move on. Cam, your second goalkeeper for us today.
So I've picked probably my favourite goalkeeper to wear a Cheltenham Town shirt based on the style of goalkeeper that he is now, but also the keeper that he was at Cheltenham when he was still a young player, which is Jack Butland. So he was obviously we were needing a goalkeeper. He was one of two. I think it was Luke Daniels we were also looking at potentially getting. And when his name came up, I was like, please get the other guy, because I didn't think Daniels was a great goalkeeper, but obviously we made the right choice. So obviously he joined initially, I think, on a 1 month loan, and then we obviously extended it, and then he then got called back to Birmingham, like Harry said earlier, 4 games before the playoff, I think it was, which obviously probably didn't put us in great stead, but I don't even think he would have saved that Nick Powell goal, because that was a worldie. But yeah, as I said, Jack Butland, what a goalkeeper. Such a talented lad at his age when he joined us. And then, for the fact that there was apparently 52 scouts watching him at one game, that just goes to show that how good he could have been. And obviously now he's gone on to be, at that time, Birmingham, Stokes, and now he's now at Palace, but he was their number ones, and he's now in England international as well. And even when he first joined, the first game he played, I had a feeling that he would go far, and I had a feeling that he would do really well. And he's done great things for himself, obviously, and he did really well for Cheltenham and kept a lot of clean sheets. I think he conceded, was it 26 goals maybe in 24 games, something like that.
Something ridiculous like that, yeah.
Yeah, which I think is a very good stat to have. And ultimately that got us into the playoffs. We were unfortunate not to go up in the end, but he's a very good goalkeeper.
I will do my last goalkeeper. Okay, so the last goalkeeper I'm going to mention is someone who had to play second fiddle to Steve Book for a while. He was at the club for 10 years. That's Shane Higgs. He was our goalkeeper that we used mainly in League One. He was there for the double over Leeds. He was an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper, and he joined us all the way back in 1999. Now, born on the 13th of May. I don't know anyone else that good that was born on that day. Now, we signed him from Worcester for £10,000 because he impressed in like an FA XI versus a Southern League representatives match. And then he was just, I think, when a player comes through in those circumstances and has to play second fiddle for about 4 years, and then when you take your chance, he really did take his chance. He's got to be one of the best goalkeepers that we've ever just owned.
Yeah, it's not often we own such a fantastic goalkeeper.
And yeah, we've had the likes of Dylan Phillips on loan, we've had the likes of Jack Butland, but no, Shane Higgs, he just was insane. And you look at what he went on to, he left us for Wolves on loan originally, who are now in the Premier League, and then he went to Leeds permanently, who are now in the Premier League. He won the championship with Wolves, he didn't actually play, and he won promotion with Leeds in 2009, I think it was. He's gone on to have a very good career as well. He won 3 Players Player of the Year awards while he was here. He's the first goalkeeper I properly remember playing for Cheltenham Town in the time where I grew up watching them. Those are our best ever goalkeepers for Cheltenham Town. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Feel free to tell us why we're wrong on Twitter, drop us a message, comment on YouTube, and we're going to wrap it up. But first, we're going to answer some questions that you guys have sent in. So Alex asks, can you get us promoted this season, please, Michael? I may not have another one left. I'm going to rephrase that as, do you think we can get promoted this season?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is all. I will not be taking any further questions.
Cam, do you think we can go up?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've learned, hopefully, from the mistakes of last season. I think we've signed, and we've been very clever in terms of the players that we've signed this season. We needed a very good central midfielder, and we signed that in Circum. And I think that Andy Williams' first signing that we made in the summer was was a bit of smart business, knowing that he's going to score goals at this level. So yeah, I think hopefully, touch wood, that we will go up. But obviously, we'll have to wait and see. But again, as you said, it's so tight this season that if we just go on a little run of games, hopefully that will pull us away from the rest.
Next one, Jacob sent in Griffiths or Flinders.
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 Without a doubt.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree. I mean, I play a lot of Football Manager, and I like to sign young players. Not saying I would sign Griffiths, but I like to sign a lot of young players. So obviously, for me, I probably would pick him. But I would have to go off what Duff said, and the fact that he himself thinks that he's not ready. But the only way he can be ready is by playing senior football. Yeah, he's made maybe one too many mistakes for me to be picked over Flinders. I mean, I didn't like Flinders before he joined Cheltenham that much. Controversially,
I'd say I'd probably go for Flinders as well. Next up is Rowan. It's not a Cheltenham question, so we'll just get a yes/no. How do you think Tuchel will do at Chelsea? Will he improve Werner and Havertz?
Yes.
Yes. What do you think, Cam?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Who is our best striker currently at the club? I forgot to write down who sent the last two in. Whoops. Who's our best striker?
It's Alfie May. I don't think there's much doubt about it. He has the most goal contributions of any player at the club this season. Yeah, he's good at putting the ball in the net.
Fair enough. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, I probably would agree. For me, we signed him from Doncaster. Very good side. Harry's disappeared.
Harry is gone. Right. Interesting. We'll carry on. Why are red onions called red onions when they're clearly purple?
God, whoever's written this one. I'm not a food critic or anything like that, but well, I think it's something to do with the soil and the pH level of the soil. But I mean, I don't know, as I said. But I did actually have an interesting thought on this.
Yeah.
Because you can eat red onions raw, can't you? But you can't eat you can't eat white onions raw, and they are the same thing.
Oh, very good point. Now, I don't really eat onions raw or cooked, because rather have an apple. But Harry, I think you missed the question. It was, why are red onions called red onions, or why are they red when they're clearly purple? You got an answer to that?
Can you just ask me again what the question is? Because
Harry, what's the question?
No, the question itself.
It has to go in.
Harry, why are red onions when they're clearly purple?
I've got no idea.
We'll just leave it at we don't know.
Does it matter?
No. Right.
I mean, well, I prefer the sound of red onions over purple onions on my ears, personally.
Fair enough.
Even
yeah.
if they're not actually red.
I think we'll leave it at that. It took us about 5 minutes to ask that last question. So, thank you for listening to Up the Duff, episode 6, Keeping It Cheal. Thank you to Cam for joining us. It has been a pleasure.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Can I ask one more question before we go?
You can, yes.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what is your guys' favourite game of all time?
Ooh.
As a Cheltenham fan, just pick one. We could be here all night.
Harry, would you like to start off?
Our 3-1 victory against Grimsby at Watton Road in 2016.
Yeah, I'm going to go with one I've mentioned before, the 2-1 home win over Doncaster to keep us in League One. Cam, what would you say yours is?
Yeah, I've got quite a few, but when I was a big Cheltenham fan and was at most of the away games, I've had a few times. I think for me, it has to be winning at Torquay to go to Wembley. I mean, we set off a flare, and I literally was in the middle of the flare. Everyone had parted ways, and I came out just in the middle of smoke, singing the song whilst we scored the goal. But yeah, it has to be that game. Marlon Pack's goal was unbelievable. So yeah.
So that is the longest outro we have ever done. I think that's taken us about 10 minutes. It might take us about 2 or 3 in the edit. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Harry. And we're going to leave you with our question of the day. Who is Cheltenham Town's best ever goalkeeper? Thanks for listening, and goodbye.